Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Michael. As she said, I'm a senior security engineer at SDF, and I helped to lead the audit bank from a technical perspective. You know what? Hold on that for a second. Thanks, appreciate it. But you know, security in the Stellar ecosystem isn't just about doing audits. Right, we're supporting different tools like Almanac, who you hear from in a little bit, and Scout, kind of helping accessibility of those tools. We're bringing new tools as well with Soraban community rules for SEMGREP and Open Zeppelin code inspectors in the ecosystem now with rules coming. So there's a lot of cool things that we're doing technically for that. We're also trying to help build a security-first mindset and approach with resources online like the threat modeling resources that we have. We've also got things like this talk that we're doing, talking about the malicious mindset. But I digress. That's not really why we're here to talk about that, right? We're here to talk about the malicious mindset. So I realized a few years ago that I've been doing pen tests and hacking and stuff like that for a long time, and my brain kind of operates backwards from how everybody else does. A lot of people think, what can I build? And the first thing I think is, how can I break it? A lot of people look at, what's the destination? And I look back and I say, okay, well, how did we get there, and what are the assumptions that were made? One of the things that I've started to kind of call this the malicious mindset. And I just want to kind of talk about that for a little bit. So the format here is to just get up and have a conversation about malicious mindset and how we use it and how it can be used to make products better on Stellar. So without any further ado, Aellison, take it away. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Aellison Cassemiro. I'm a formal verification engineer working for runtime verification. I do audits and development for general blockchains.
Hi, I am Netanel, or Nati, and I'm a security researcher working for Satora.
And so I wanted to kind of set the stage here for the conversation really with what is the malicious mindset. And so I kind of defined this as a place that, a mindset where you would question assumptions. You pick a thing and try to break it in a creative or fun way. You want to try to go farther, do things differently, maybe ask why in places other people won't. But not everybody has that definition. As we were talking, there were some other definitions that kind of came out. So Netanel, how would you define the malicious mindset? Where does that come from for you?
So I think to distinguish the malicious mindset from I think there are many ways to do auditing. So it needs to be differentiated a bit from just general auditing or security mindset. So I think maybe you can characterize it by three rough properties. I think it has something in it which is very strongly questioning assumptions. I mean, questioning assumptions on the code, on the documentation, on the logic, even questioning what the developer team is telling you, what they're sure of. I think also there's something that's a bit mathematical in it. Everything needs to be proven. Even the things that you take for as obvious are always have to be established. You're constantly questioning concepts that you think you know, but you don't really know. And maybe the last thing, it's kind of very, very cross. It's cross ecosystem, cross code, cross contracts. It's very, very broad. Does it? I think that roughly is it, right?
Yeah, sounds good. So Aellison, do auditors use this? Is this required for auditors to have this mindset? Is it required to be an auditor to have this mindset? What do you think?
I think that it isn't required, but it's very common around us. This is the mindset that you use to focus on what can go wrong. So it's very common between auditors, and also, I would say perhaps necessary, but that's not the only way that you can audit something.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Just kind of a brief aside here, Netanel and I have met up and talked in the hallway a couple of times a day. And every time we've talked, he's given an example of, if I was being malicious, here's the one thing that I could do, ha ha. So Netanel, give us an example of how your malicious mindset's working right now, and something fun and juicy.
Okay, so I'm going to say the thing you told me not to say. So I was talking to Michael and I told him that like, oh, I think I'm gonna, I'm gonna try and do something malicious, like take over some Stellar wallet. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, Michael, where's your wallet right now? Like,
we're not going to talk about that right now.
Talk about this.
So maybe a bigger question and kind of what could be beneficial, I think, to the group is how did you develop this mindset? This is something that it doesn't come naturally a lot of times and kind of bears developing. We'll talk a little bit more how we kind of practice that in a minute, but how did you develop your mindset?
So for me, right?
Yeah, sorry.
So the way that I've developed my mindset, like I've always worked with security, like for the last 15 years, roughly. But a couple of years ago, I started working for a company that processes financial transactions here from Brazil. Turns out Brazilians are really smart people, and they use it for some stuff, for example, monetary fraud. And we had to deal with that a lot in that company. So people would use more money that they had in their accounts, and we didn't know why initially. Only what we had was a negative balance, and we didn't know how we arrived to that point. So I had to reverse engineer a lot of actions from people that were stealing money. And it was one of the first times where I could learn and apply this mindset of figuring out, okay, how can I, based on this software that I have, based on this interface of interactions that I have, how can I exploit this? How can I get more money than it allows me to get? And then I transitioned to Web3, in which my first audit experiences, they've been very stiff. Like I had like spreadsheets with stuff to look for in the code. But then the more you do, the more you read about, the more you learn, the more it becomes natural. Like you learn to follow the money, to quickly go through a code base and try to identify things. So I think it's something that you can learn, and you can learn it through practice. Read reports, try to look for common issues, and then you will develop your own mindset, your own strategies like this.
Yeah. Netanel, how about you? How did you develop your malicious mindset?
So I think for me it's mostly through learning math, like I studied topology, like there is something about it that like people say that every true theorem there is like a topologist to disprove it. So I think maybe it's like through this like need to constantly like retest definition and intuition.
Yep, definitely. Safely engaging your malicious mindset, I emphasize safely here because you can go to jail for doing it wrong, right? But safely engage your malicious mindset isn't easy, and it does take practice to kind of maintain. I was gonna kind of ask in a general question, what are some practices you still put into practice to help you kind of question the assumptions around you? Shameless plug here, we have a workshop coming up in a couple hours that you are welcome to come and attend that helps you build exactly this mindset and think through it in that way. So go ahead and shameless plug that. But I'll throw one out there. One of the things that I'll a lot of times do is I'll look at a system and how it operates, how the data flows. And then I'll start looking at parameters. And I'll start seeing things that are common among different requests and responses. And I'll start just kind of question, okay, what happens if we change that? What happens if that's a 0 instead of a 1,000 or whatever? And more often than not, it yields some interesting results. Not necessarily a vulnerability, but it might, if you see something different, that starts engaging the, how do we go further? How do we question? How do we change more? Start asking why. So, Netanel, how about you? How do you safely engage your malicious mindset and maintain that practice?
So I think for me it's mostly like I try to do CTFs like once a week and also read about like first interesting exploits and also like interesting phenomena that happen in the ecosystem. We don't necessarily have to do even connected to anything like in an audit, or I don't immediately have any exploitation idea for them. I just try to like read about them, and usually some cross training, like doing puzzles or like things that are required to think in like non-conventional ways.
Yeah, I like that. So one of the things that I kind of promised at the outset is thinking about how we can take this malicious mindset and apply it outside of a security specific focus to do things that might actually make code better. And so, Aellison, what are your thoughts on applying this outside of a strict security context? How do you kind of engage that? How do you move in that direction to kind of take this critical process and go deeper, farther, faster?
So this malicious mindset is not something unique to auditing code or developing code. It's something that, it's a mindset that you can have on your day-to-day life in general, is the having in mind the things that can go wrong. So I would say that the malicious mindset is like you are at a restaurant and you want to go to the toilet. You don't leave your cell phone on the table. This is a simple example of that. It's like questioning, not accepting that everything that can go right will go right. Something can go wrong, and it's like setting up a ladder. You put the ladder in place, and before you go up on it, you give it a good shake before going up. So just making sure that the things that can go wrong, they won't happen. Be aware of that.
Right, and I start thinking about, when you're building and you're doing a design and you're starting to think about an application, having that and starting questioning the different assumptions that are being made. Questioning assumptions becomes a massive part of this malicious mindset to really help kind of delve deeper into that. So we've talked a little bit about this already, but do we feel like the malicious mindset can be taught and learned, or is it an intrinsic part of somebody? I'm throwing this a little bit of a curveball as we got extra time up here, and it's longer than I was thinking. But so this is one of the things we had talked about. What do you guys think about that? Is this intrinsic, or is it able to be taught and learned?
Do you want to go first?
Okay, so I think that like some of it is intrinsic, but I think it definitely can be taught and improved. Like for everybody, I think like it's something that like needs to be actively sharpened, and yeah.
I agree with as well. It's like it's something that you can practice. It's something that you can learn. As I said before, at the beginning, it's something that you'll be very stiff at. It won't be natural to you.
Yep.
But once you get used to it, and once, especially when you have external motivations like fear of getting hacked, for example, this is a good motivation for you to learn about having this security-oriented mindset.
Definitely.
It's something that you can learn.
And I think, again, we'll get into this further in the workshop, but thinking about a stride threat model helps to frame that idea of what can go wrong, and asking that in a very formalized and repeatable way, so that you can really think critically about designs and applications. So I still have a few minutes left, but I am done with questions. Do we have any questions in the audience people wanted to ask and talk about things? Anybody on the panel?
No?
All right. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.